something we all need. Gotta have it now if you wanna succeed. Striving, surviving, that's no doubt. Sticking together, we gon' find a way out. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all. To all you young people, give it your all.
Oh, well.
Good evening, the back community. Thank you as always for staying involved. Thank you for staying engaged. Tonight I have, the jack of all trades himself. I mean, he does shows, he does clothing, he does branding. I have Mr. Alphonso Meadows III, third in line is what they call him. But he is tonight's guest on the back community. So first things first, Fonzo, thank you very much for joining the back community. I look forward to diving into your story.
Listen, it's my pleasure to be here. You're from my hometown, you know what I'm saying? So
Facts.
Albany in New York represent, you know what I'm saying? But
Facts.
but no, it's my pleasure to be here, man. I've been looking forward to just sitting down and just chatting with you. I'm actually very inspired about the work that you're doing as well. And so it's an honor to sit with you, particularly just viewing your journey over the years and kind of seeing how you've been able to take, just your unique situations and then kind of make them to what they are now, mold them and shape them and make something great out of it is inspiring, man. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Hey, listen, I truly appreciate that. And I would say that's how I came across you. So, I think the first platform I might have seen you on is Charlene's platform.
Okay.
But then I was just like, oh, okay, well, I know some Meadows. I said, maybe I said maybe I know him. So, but then I just kept seeing you and your level of consistency and what it is that you do is always entertaining to me. I love your reels. I don't know how you have the time to do the reels on top of everything else that you're doing. But I'm gonna get into that. As we get into the story.
Oh, good. That's what's up.
Yeah. Well, let me say, I know who you are and I'm still learning you, but here's the perfect opportunity for you to tell the back community more about you, Mr. Alphonso Meadows. So my first question for you is, please introduce yourself to the back community. Tell us what it is that you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So as you kind of set it up, I'm Al Meadows, Alphonso. So here's the thing. I got a 19-year-old, 20-year-old son. So he's Alphonso, the fourth. My dad is junior. I'm the third, and then my granddad, rest in peace, is senior. So it's so interesting. Particularly when my grandfather was living, whenever we were all in the same room, we never know who they were talking to because we all have the same name. But yeah. So Al Meadows, man, I do, like you said, a variety of things, and I think that's kind of has been my niche. Is that I've never really focused just on one particular thing. I've always kind of diversified. In terms of using all my gifts and talents that I feel that God has given me. And so one thing that I've been kind of intentional about is just ensuring that I'm tapping into all of those markets that I know, I have gifting and ability and calling to do. So with that, I have I'm co-founder of a merchandise line called the New Meaning brand. As you can see, one of our shirts behind me is our unapologetically brand or line. And so we typically, with this particular brand, we try to give what you think new meaning. Right. And so a lot of times, words can take on different meaning if they have different contexts and that kind of thing. So the whole premise behind it is really what you think you might know, we're going to give it new meaning. Right. So we got the New Meaning brand. I have a payroll processing company called My Right Hand Business Solutions, where I'm CEO there. Don Juan Clark is the CEO. So we do payroll processing, we do porter services, we do project management consulting. And then I'm also a project manager as well. So project program manager. I do consulting work right now I'm working with Comcast, I work with Sprint, I work with T-Mobile, et cetera. So in addition to that, man, I'm a writer, singer as well. I mean, when I say I sing, I'm gonna say that lightly. Like I can sing, but I cannot sing. You know what I'm saying? If my good friend watches this, he'll be like, boy, you can't sing like that. That boy can sing, but it's something that I enjoy doing, and so I have some music out there that I'm working on, etc. So again, man, those are kind of like in a nutshell, just kind of all the things that I'm involved in. And again, I try to just put my hand in several baskets where I feel I have talent and gifting that God has given me, and I want to be able to use those. I think if I forgot who sings that song, but if I had a theme song, it would be like, use me till you use me up, God. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanna, when it's my time to transition to the next phase, I want to be able to say, I have used everything that you have bestowed upon me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to wait and leave. I want to die empty. So I do that, with all the things that I've got going on now, man. So in a nutshell.
Listen. That right there is power all by itself. And it's just like, I think so many of us have talents, so many of us have gifts, and so many of us are still struggling to find purpose, right? So for you to stretch yourself in all of these different areas to say, well, you know what? I want to make sure I don't leave anything here. I want to make sure I don't leave anything here. Hey, I'm not the best singer, but you put me in a shower. I guarantee you.
Give you a little auto tunes. You'd be good.
But I appreciate the stretching of yourself that you're doing, because one, like you said, there's so many levels to us as individuals. And what you're allowing yourself to do is to creatively be exactly who you are without having to say, I'm so rigid, I got to stay right here in this one box. I said, no, I'm the jack of all trades. So when I said it earlier, that was before I even learned that, there was more art. There was another level of art to you, all of these things. So, wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, man. One thing you just said that just brought to mind is I think when we talk about purpose, a lot of times, and I fell under this idea for a while too. And I think we sometimes think of purpose as being static versus dynamic. And what I mean by that is that I believe your purpose evolves as you live life, as you go along this journey. So whereas, I'd say 10 years ago or so, some of the things that I was involved in and working through and working on, I've evolved, right? So it's still my purpose, but its purpose is dynamic. So it's ever growing and evolving and changing to a degree, right? So I think sometimes we get caught in this idea that I got to find that one purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that one thing that, God or universe, source, whatever you call it, has called me to do or whatever. And it's like, I think if we start looking at it from a more broad perspective that, hey, as you evolve and grow, that purpose is going to be dynamic. It's going to evolve and change, And so you're not having to like look for this one thing per se, which it might be for some. But I think for the majority of us, as we evolve and change, we'll find more about ourselves and see how our purpose evolves, if you will.
I agree with that 100%. Not just to go back, I also think that there's value in focusing on a particular thing too.
Agreed.
I've learned over the years that, what do they say? For anybody who says that they're great at multitasking, they're lying, because they're doing a whole bunch of things horribly, probably.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
So it's like, if you can, or when you have a focus, you can see one of them out as well.
Agreed.
And I always say there's nothing wrong with moving on to the next thing, but sometimes you want to give everything your full attention so that you can complete whatever that season is. In the Bible, it says Ecclesiastes is a season for everything. So absolutely, I like that you said you can evolve. We're all supposed to evolve. So you don't have to stay in one position. You don't got to stay in one a realm of thinking. But as life hits you, as it does all of us, things are going to change. Say, I used to like blue. I don't like blue anymore
so much. It's a really good point, man. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think sometimes, in terms of like doing so many things, it doesn't mean you're doing all of those at the same time. to your point, where I'm saying that although I've got my hand in several, baskets now, or in several different ventures, that hasn't always been the case, right? I've focused on one area, when I was, getting educated. That was like my primary focus there. I didn't have the bandwidth or capacity to, be doing all this other stuff at the time either. Raising when my son was younger and raising my son, like a lot of my focus and time was in that season was that, you know what I mean? So I didn't have the capacity to do so many different other business ventures, et cetera. So I'm glad you mentioned that it's not necessarily that you're doing if you have multiple gifts and talents, you're doing all of them at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But as you said, as the season changes and you evolve, then other doors can open for more of your gifts and callings to be exposed and utilized.
I agree. Listen, I keep seeing your shirt in the back of you. I'm coming back to that unapologetically Black background.
Yes.
Please tell me, how'd you come up with the concept for the new meaning brand?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember or not, but this is right, I believe, after COVID hit, and this was during the like the police brutality, highlighting a lot of that was going on during that time frame. And if you recall, the Black Lives Matter movement was calling for people to black out your social media. If you remember that, it's just like the black box. You remember that? Yep. So I thought about that concept and I was thinking, man, I like utilizing that. And I didn't want to exclude anybody, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not about exclusion. It's all about inclusion as well. But at the same time, I am unapologetically Black as well, right? But not only because of my skin color, but also at that time for what that black box was representing. It was against police brutality. It was, taking a stand for all lives, having value as well, and particularly Blacks' lives as well during that time when they were kind of, being and ostracized. So that's where the concept came from, man. And to be honest, because I'm unapologetically Black too was already taken. So we didn't want no issue. We want no. We don't want no legal trouble, right? So
he said, so listen, I can still accomplish the same thing.
Exactly.
I can leave the Black off, and
there you go.
Boom. Here you go. This is abstract. Where did your mind go?
Absolutely. So it can be worn in, in various different places without coming across offensive possibly to some, et cetera. But it's like you said, it's kind of a little bit more abstract, and you give it meaning, right? It's the new meaning brand. So you let it, define the meaning as you see forth as you see fit when you see that symbol. So
I love that. I love that because I didn't know it. I seen the name. I didn't even think further than the actual name.
Okay.
But I love it. It's like, not necessarily a remix, but it allows you to envision a project. It allows you to visualize something in a different way.
Absolutely.
You may only see this phone as such, but now I might say this is a TV. I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
The new meaning brand.
Absolutely, man. Yes, that was a concept for that.
Yeah. Okay. You know what else I wanted to ask you too? I should have started off the conversation by saying this. Today is one of the most important days of the year. Did you go vote, Al?
I did. I wish I had my sticker somewhere. It's on my kitchen counter, but I did actually. Maybe like a couple hours before we got on this Zoom. Yes, I did. Yes.
All right. Good. That is good to know. I don't care who you voted for, as long as you got out there to go vote, because exercising that right is what our ancestors have fought for that ability and capability of being able to do it.
Absolutely.
And I told myself I would never miss another opportunity to vote. And God will not stick to that.
Yeah, I mean, just even thinking, I was having a conversation today with a friend of mine about because I'm telling you, at one point, I won't say I was ever against voting, but I didn't. I think just from being a little far removed from the civil rights movement era and that kind of thing. Just going back to kind of look at some of the documentaries about, kind of that struggle, right? And, can you imagine now being denied the right to let your voice be heard? Like, regardless of who you're voting for, to your point, just having the ability to be able to go and cast your vote or not having that ability, right? And think about everything that had to go before us in place to be able to provide or have the opportunity to do that. So like you said, at this point, it doesn't matter who you're voting for. Just go exercise it,
Okay.
right? Because at one point we couldn't.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's the power behind, what those who came before us have laid and done. And so I respect and honor that. I don't ever want to lose. I don't ever want to get too far from that I can't, empathize, sympathize with the struggle that they had to go through to be able to give us all of the right to be able to exercise our voice. So I'll always vote.
And I think it's easy sometimes. I think sometimes we can see where we are currently and be in positions or places of comfort, right?
Yeah.
But like you said,
yeah.
forget about all of the people who had to lose their lives, lose all they had. And I think the same thing happened to me. I think I was watching Selma. And Selma might have did it for me. It was just like, you will never miss another opportunity to vote Tyrell.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Brought it home. I agree.
Yeah. Well, let me see. So what's the big vision? What's the plan with the New Meaning brand? There's several different pockets of Al I'm going to dissect in this interview.
Okay.
But what's the overall vision for the New Meaning brand?
Yeah, so just to keep expanding the overall vision, which again is just bringing new meaning to what you thought you knew. So trying to do that in various ways. Right now, it's through merchandise, right, through clothing. But the ultimate vision is just seeing how we can also do that through business, right? How we can do that through maybe a mentoring program. How we can do that, through making connections with other people that have resources that perhaps I don't, right? So, but keeping the essence of the message the same. It's just kind of just to expand it. Right now it's merchandise, but the ultimate goal is always looking for ways of how can we further the message of giving new meaning to what you think you know. You know what I mean? And how that may look this year may look different next year, but the overall goal and vision of that won't change. It's just want to continue to expand it and see how, I'm big on like it's called the art of allowing. So I'm not familiar with that, but essentially it's really just putting yourself in the vibrational stance to where you're open to receive that which is for you, which is for your business, right? So it's getting rid of resistance that may hinder what it is that, what I'm saying, is for you and what is your next step. So I'm always cautious with always having a plan, because I think proper planning has its place for sure. Always having a plan. But I'm never too rigid to where I want to be able to put myself in a place that, I'm allowing that, because I always believe God has a bigger dream than I can dream for myself.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I have my vision. Yeah, I have my goals, and I'm always writing goals, and you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, that art of allowing says I'm going to allow what it is that you also have for this business for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm open to that, and so I may think it's this one thing right now, but hey, talk to me in 6 months. I may have gotten some inspiration, a word, something that may have come in, a connection, and now it's going to pivot somewhat because I'm open to allowing that which is for me. So
nice.
Nice. If that makes sense.
Okay. And what about with my right hand business solutions? What was the premise behind starting that, and what is the goal or the focus of that business?
Yeah, so I'm not the founder of that. That's Don Juan Clark is the founder of that business. I'm the COO, so I'm the chief operating officer for it. Right now, it's primarily payroll services, but we also do porter services, and then we do project management consulting as well. So really, it's the idea that coming behind and being your right hand. Right. So when you have a right hand man or right hand woman or someone that you can rely on to get certain things done that perhaps you don't have the capacity to do, or you don't have the knowledge or the resources, et cetera. Our goal is to come alongside of whatever you're doing and help to offset some things that, so you can focus on growing your business, so you can focus on, building your brand, so you can focus on, if you want to, expand, your territory. The whole idea is that we come and provide those services to take that off of your plate and be able to kind of be that right hand person for you.
Nice. And I know this firsthand, that there are so many people who will pay for that service, because I am one of them. And it's just like,
absolutely.
know what you're good at and be able to outsource where you don't have the time, energy, or skill to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll save so much money over time. But,
Absolutely.
having someone like, social media, everyone is not into social media, and
Yeah.
people will be like, well, how do you do this or whatever? And I'll try to go ahead and share it with them. But I'd be like, listen, this doesn't look like this is going to be
Yeah.
your thing. You might not be interested in this one. So what you could do, like you said, get a right-hand man, get a right-hand woman that knows how to do it, pay that person to do it so that you don't miss any of the opportunities that you might be leaving on the table.
Absolutely. And I think one one thing that I tend to see a lot, particularly with Black-owned businesses, is that we tend to have the most challenge when we're trying to scale. Right. And so to your point, that's what my right hand comes alongside to do, is to help you scale your business. Sometimes particularly when we're starting out in the infancy stage and they're smaller business, it's our baby. You know what I'm saying? So, we're so invested that we want to make sure that we're involved in every aspect of it. And as you scale, that's not realistic anymore. You see what I'm saying? And so you've got to get my right hand to come help you. You know what I'm saying? People who, you trust and that, have a proven track record of, good business practices and have the skill set and the employees to help support and do what you need them to do, because you won't be able to successfully scale. You just can't. It's kind of like, going from like a mom and pop to now this, major corporation, and you're still behind there writing your checks and doing your payroll yourself. And it's like there's no way you can scale and do that, right? So to your point, I think that's exactly what we strive to do. And so you just come alongside and be that help.
What do you think about this as it pertains to scale, especially when you said a lot of African American businesses? I think for a lot of African American businesses, the person behind the business is the everything to the business, right? So it's kind of hard to scale an actual person, right, as opposed to a product and stuff like that. But when you look at what you have friends that open up restaurants or whatever, they can make really good chicken wings or whatever, but it's like, is it scalable? If you're not available to do it, is there a perfect plan, for somebody else to come in and do the same thing to redo it? And I think that is probably one of our biggest hindrance, is that for a lot of Black businesses, the people who are running those businesses, they're the special sauce.
Yeah.
They're the special sauce.
Yeah. And how do you replicate that? How do you duplicate? Yeah. And I think one thing that has helped me, and now, man, because we have technology and we have so much at our fingertips to be able to get information, like take some courses on business, right? On how to scale. You can Google right now, how to scale my business. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to get a plethora, right, of courses and you got to check the source, of course, but do some study, do some research, take some courses, spend a few dollars, to take a business course on how to scale or how to maximize profit, things like that. So that because you may not, particularly a lot of times a lot of our Black owned businesses are first generation business owners, right? So we're learning. You know what I'm saying? And we've got to give each other a little grace as well, right? To know that, we're learning, we're in this thing where, it started out small, now it's massive. I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? That I didn't expect. I was just cool with just shipping out a few things here and there and making a little money to pay my, car note mortgage. Now it's like, okay, I haven't been in this. I don't have a mentor that I can just, or mom or dad that has done it, and I can just call and say, hey, how do I do this? I think we got to just, be humble and realize, like, hey, what resources are out there? What classes can I take? Who can I connect with? Like, networking is important, right? So that, man, maybe let me learn, let me ask, let me not just take all myself if I don't have the experience or expertise. I think that's one thing that can help us all. Just Google and take a class. Simple as that.
Listen, I think it's probably the most frustrating thing for me, Al, is because we have access to more information now than ever before. Right. But I promise you, most scholarly searches stop at Google.
Yeah, that's true.
Stop at Google, right? We're not going anything further than that. We're not opening up books. And I think that, it's mind-boggling, the fact that we have access to so much more, but yet we choose to take the shortcut to get to the information, which is 9 times out of 10 not going to give us a full enough explanation. You know what I mean? But
you got to research. Man, do you remember the old school encyclopedias when we were growing up?
Absolutely.
Bro, that's what I had to go to. My dad and mom said, like, go pull it and go look it up. You know what I'm saying? I got a whole library of encyclopedias, and I had to go through and find what and trying to research. But to your point, I think technology has also made us a little lazy, right, in terms of wanting things right now. But we can use it to our advantage. You can still do a good search, find the resource, order the book, take the class, whatever. It can be a good start to getting the information you need for whatever you need.
Okay. And I'm glad you just mentioned your parents and your upbringing. I'm actually going to come back to that now, because I'm not sure how many people get a chance to get to know this side of Al. Everyone probably sees all of the business side of you and where you have been, or where you are in life currently. But I'm going to ask you a few questions just to figure out how Al became the man that he is today. Okay. Starting with when you were younger. Outside, actually, I'm not even gonna limit this. When you were younger, did you have anybody who actually mentored you? And the reason why I asked this question is I understand the importance of mentorship and how that can be impactful. So, you turned out to be a very professional young man, and you're doing great things for yourself. But thinking about the earlier version of yourself, was there anyone that was impactful to you, or did you have a mentor outside of? I know you got a long lineage of Al's in your family. So outside of the family, did you have a mentor?
Man, I did when I got older, started getting in business. And that was from me reading. There's a book called The Power of Focus. And so I recommend everyone to get it. It's in my library. I forgot who if I can see who the author is. But it's called The Power of Focus. I read that book, and it stressed the importance of getting mentors, right? And also, how to go about seeking a mentor, and the value and the benefit to gaining a mentor. So I started that when I was, early 20s, and I started like getting in my professional career. When I was growing up, honestly, and I feel so fortunate and blessed, and I don't take this for granted or lightly, but my dad really was my mentor. Nice. You know what I'm saying? And so for one, my dad actually, he was a official mentor for the United Way. So we would always have, children, families living with us. I mean, we would take on families. My dad was a basketball coach at one time. And so a lot of principles that I learned was really just from watching him.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't take that light, because I know that that's not everyone's story. Yep. But just really having him and being able to see him day in and day out, and see how he would treat his wife, how he would treat his family, how he would treat his colleagues, how he would bring in and mentor people, and share kind of knowledge and that kind of thing. To me, that really was the mentor that I looked up to, right? Nice. So when I got older, I had this thing, like my mom and my dad. I felt like, wow, I don't want to disappoint them. What will my dad do? What will my mom do? Let me think about, so those were my mentors as a child. But as I got older and I started to grow, I realized I needed more than, just, that upbringing and that experience for me to continue to evolve and grow. I needed to start now seeking other mentors for where I was going.
Nice. Yeah. I like the fact that you said that, it wasn't until you got older that you actually sought out, and after reading the book, that you sought out an actual mentor. A lot of young adults, a lot of seasoned adults feel like, they've missed that window of opportunity. It's expired, and they're too old to get a mentor. You are never too old to be mentored. And I'm so thankful that you just said that, because people are like, well, I'm not a kid anymore. How can I be mentored? Very easily.
Right.
I got a young man that's reaching out to me right now, and he keeps saying that he wants to get involved with working with the youth. And I just told him yesterday, I said, listen, the very first thing that I'm going to recommend to you is that if you don't have the background to or the credentials to get in there, they don't want to give you a job for it. Go volunteer.
Yeah.
Go volunteer, and
Yeah.
you can go ahead and make a name for yourself just by volunteering, so people can see what it is that you're passionate about. People can start to build a character reference for you. But it's
Absolutely.
just like, learn from other people who may have opened up who might have traveled that same path as you, and figure out how they open up the door.
Absolutely.
Volunteerism is huge, but I'm
Yeah.
glad that you touched on that. And two, shout out to your parents,
Thank you.
because it is a blessing to be able to have your parents be your mentors. I never want to overlook that, because oftentimes we always hear about the external or the outer influences, but it is such a beautiful thing to be able to have that reference point be within your house. Literally this morning, my 6-year-old and I had a conversation before he left out today, and I had just told him, I said, I love being your dad, right? And I'm like, God, and I got 3 boys. I was just talking to him, though. I said, I love being your dad, right?
Yeah.
But I said, for you guys, I just want you to know that it's different. Like, you get a chance to have me at home every day.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't have that when I was younger. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, so, understanding how impactful that is.
For sure.
It's what I just heard in your statement. Just like, well, listen, to be perfectly honest, Ty, he's like, listen, I didn't have to look too much further than my own dad, and I got to see that every day.
Yeah.
That's dynamic, and it's huge.
It's I think it's gargantuan, really, honestly. Because that day to day, and so much of the foundation is being laid during those formative years of ours, right? So what you take in and see and experience in that home life really matters. You know what I'm saying? So certainly, like that for me, I tried to do it with my son. I even sacrificed with him and his mom. We were married for a while. We did a lot of sacrificing to make sure we could provide that kind of environment for him too, because I'm a firm believer in an advocate in like having that, letting you be the first influence for your children.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Certainly they're gonna be influenced by a lot of other, people and things, but you being the first influence, right? Like that, so you can bounce off the other things that may come. And certainly other mentors are needed as well. Like my son has had mentors outside of, me as well for his, in sports and different things, music. But I'm a firm believer definitely that, where it fits, if you can be that, have that first impact and influence on your children, your family, is so important, man. And not only with our immediate family, I think it's one thing I also learned from my dad is that we got to also, like you do as well, reaching out to the community. So my dad, it was never just about us. I have two sisters, older sisters, but it was never just about us. There was, if it wasn't a cousin, if it wasn't a friend, if it was somebody that he met, through coaching, families coming, it was never just about us. To the point where sometimes I'm like, well, we are the kids, though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so we got to bring somebody again. I thought it was just gonna be us. Yeah.
So I learned that too. That it's not just about me and mine, but also how can I, what impact can I make on someone else's life? And so that's important to me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I also, thinking back to the younger version of Al, what is something you wish someone would have told you when you were younger that you now know as an adult, as a seasoned vet in the game, but thinking about the younger version of you, what is something you wish someone would have told you at that point in life?
That's a good question. There's several things, but I'll tell you. Oh man. I would say, and this is not too profound or anything, but one thing I learned from a mentor as an adult that had incredibly changed my life, and I wish if I would have known this or learned this skill earlier as a young man, I think I would have been further ahead. But I was sharing with him one day about a situation that was going on in my personal life and things like that. It was a challenging time for me, and I was sharing, and he sat there and he was just looking like, and so I'm like, you heard him, you heard him saying, like, I didn't feel like you was connected. You hear? I'm like, I kept asking, like, yo, you heard what I just said? And he said, I hear what you're not saying.
Mm.
And so he taught me the art of starting to listen for what people are not saying. There's an art to it. You know what I'm saying? And I think for just because, you know, emotional intelligence is huge, you know, like learning that and learning, and you can't, no matter what you do, whether it's business, personal, family, etc., it's going to involve other people. So I think that's a skill set that if I would have learned earlier, to know that everything doesn't require a response verbally. You know what I'm saying? You can read a room if you learn how to interpret the energy of a room and what's going on without anything being said.
Absolutely.
You can learn things by what people do say, by what they're not saying. You can get a lot of understanding, like the Bible says, and all thy getting, get an understanding, right? And so I look at that as like learning to listen, and the art of what people are not saying is like getting your understanding, because a lot of what you need to know, people are not going to tell you directly. You see what I'm saying? You know. So I think if I would have learned that earlier on, it would have saved me, I think, a lot of some heartache and some challenging times that with me trying to like forge my way, if I kind of really kind of understand like how to get my understanding about some things and then move differently based on that, I think would have helped me, you know?
I love it. That was dynamic, because it is an art to it. It's just like, you know, most of us are only trained to process what we hear. So when you just said that, OMG, listen for what you're not hearing.
Yes.
Wow.
For what they're not saying. Yeah. So what is hearing is all because there's this body language, right? There's a lot that's going on in the communication experience that's not verbal.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? If you start to listen and learn to pick up on that, you can get a lot of, because now, man, where I'm at now, because I've learned that skill, I look at communication in such a broad sense. Like sometimes I've gotten I've got my understanding. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need any additional closure. I didn't need for you to say anything else. Like I really got my understanding based on this exchange or experience, whatever. And I learned that through him. So if I had that earlier, I think it would have definitely served me well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And let me see. One of my favorite questions I like to ask on the back community is it's a question around success. So I think everyone has their own definition of success. So if you were to define success, how would you define success?
Yeah. Success for me, I look at success as being in a place of extreme well-being. So to me, when you're actively pursuing, good health habits, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and financially, and it doesn't mean that you won't have health challenges, or you're not going to have financial challenges. You're not going to have, issues with, getting emotionally, secure and things of that nature. But when you are actively doing the work in those areas to really have a balanced life, that when you wake up in the morning and you have this sense of well-being, like all is well, it doesn't mean that everything is the way that I want it to be. It doesn't mean that everything is going exactly the way that I want it to go. It doesn't mean my bank account is exactly where I would like it to be. It doesn't even mean that my relationship is at the pinnacle of its, success. But inside, internally, what's going on in here, I am at peace. I have a sense of well-being, and that affects my finances, that affects my health, that affects my mental. And to me, that is success. And I think, and the reason why that's so fragile is because that's got to be maintained. Meaning, you see what I'm saying? Like the pursuit of ensuring that your cup is full. I love using that analogy, because it's like, it resonates so much with me, is that, when you have a cup and you're pouring, something in the cup, when your cup is empty or nearing empty, you don't have much to give. So you got to make sure that your cup is full to overflowing, so that what's in the cup is for me. The overflow is for you, is for everybody else, is for, what I'm saying? And to me, if you're maintaining that and you are intentional about pouring into your physical, your spiritual, your mental, your financial, right? To me, that's success. And that's gonna, it's not this like, because when I was younger, it was like kind of money, or it was, I want to have these status symbols, and so I got some of that stuff. I got, some of that, and it's like, well, that's great. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be broke either. You know what I'm saying? Part of success ain't being broke for me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It means having some resources and some money as well. But I learned that that's not how I can completely define success, because you can have all of that and still be empty inside and not have that sense of well-being. And I don't want that. I don't want to have this house on the hill and be alone. Right. Or, or not have anyone to share it with, or feeling that, I'm just this empty feeling. So success for me is just making sure that I'm feeding all those areas of my life.
Nice.
And making sure that I'm maintaining that. And whenever I get off balance, to me, it's like, that's an indication that you got, maybe you're not, something's off, right? And make sure you're attending to those areas so that I can maintain a successful life, if you will.
Yep. I was just about to add that word, and then you said it already. I said, it sounds like what you're describing is finding that balance, right? Because I think for a lot of people, you don't end up finding the balance until you reach burnout.
Yes.
Right. So, and some people don't realize that burnout is a thing, and it'll take you to go through an experience and realize that, what, maybe I've been trying too much, or maybe I did this too much.
I've done
it. Me too. So that's why, now when I see a young, energetic activists and people who want to do it, I'll tell them to make sure you're pacing yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure you're pacing yourself. Make sure you're not trying to be the token spokesperson for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't overextend yourself, right? But it's I get it, because for some of them, they still have to, life has to hit you for you to really get it and be like, oh, okay, actually, I can't do all of those things. Not because I can't try, but there's only so much one person can actually do. So learn how to balance, find that balance, so that you're not overextending yourself. You're not gonna reach burnout, and that more people can get that overflow from you, as opposed to you still trying to give from that empty cup.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. I wish someone would told me that when I was younger, just exactly what you just said. But yeah, that's great advice, because there's a scripture that I like to remind myself that says, "Do not grow weary in well doing." So I always focus on the grow, because that means something's brewing and happening. It ain't just, the burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's, what I'm saying, it's growing, it's happening. So if you're not in tune with, where you are, then it's hard to find that balance, because you got to be in tune with kind of like, oh, hold on, I need to take a break. I need to take a break. You talked about my reels. One of the reasons why I do the reels and I do some of the social media, for me, that's fun for me.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's a way for me. You think about someone?
I'm thinking about the one right now. I think you said he's like, how long do I gotta stay in this neighborhood before it gets gentrified?
That's a real life story now. But I do that because it helps me bring the balance, right? And man, if you go to my page, you may get, I may be preaching to you one day about something. You might see me, out hanging out with my boys one day. I might be doing a reel. I might have a business seminar. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that's the totality of who I am. But it's also me bringing that balance. That what's the point of doing all this without also having some fun and enjoying it? You know what I'm saying? Like I want to enjoy this experience. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just heap up all of these, accolades and money and things like that, but I have fun during the process. No. So for me, part of that balance is by doing the reels or social media. Like my son, he'd be like, "Dad, you're on social media more than I am." He's like, he's like, and then he goes on this whole dissertation about the algorithms. You gotta be careful because the screen and it's gonna, but I told him, man, but for me, it's an outlet for fun for me. I like content creation. That's something I probably get into a little bit as well. But anyway, man, that helps me bring that balance to my life.
Like
It's like,
I like it.
yeah.
I think kids help me to stay youthful, right? Not only my own kids, but just my nieces, my nephews. I think they help me to stay youthful, and I thank them for that all of the time because I'm a huge kid at heart. So I'm always looking for someone to have a good time. My love style is part pleaser. So
Okay.
I want people to have a good
Good
time.
time.
So
Yeah.
being around kids, and I learned that through COVID, right? COVID was such an experience that we felt globally. But when you got young kids at home with you, it's just like, they understand it, but at the same time, it's just like, I just want to have a good time. Right? What are we gonna do? You can't be sitting around in here all day.
Yeah.
So we learn
How
how
was
to
that for
play.
you? So because you have three, right? Three.
Yep.
And
So
they're pretty young, right? They're all
my oldest would be 13 on the 24th of this month, and then I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh yeah. So okay. Yeah.
But we did a lot of hide and seek, a lot of
Okay.
playing in the backyard, a lot of riding the bikes in the neighborhood because it's like they still are looking for fun and things to do. So kids were the equilibrium for me, I guess.
The balance. Yeah. That's a fun age. I love that age. That growing up part. Yeah. Nice.
Let me see. What was I gonna ask you? Oh, actually, I'm coming back before I ask this one. I'm gonna say, because I know that there's another thing that you're working on too. I didn't get to it yet, but I love tuning in. I want to say I might have tuned in at least 3 or 4 times. You and Charlene have something over there on Clubhouse called Winning the Day. And I think that you guys have a really good dynamic between the two of you, and I love how neither one of you are pushy, right? It's just like you got your own space, she has her own space, and it is a welcome space for both of you guys to have your level of processing. But even hearing you talk right now, I can understand why you guys vibe even more. Because she is definitely a jack of all trades as well, and she definitely gives herself permission to change. So it's like, oh, okay, that works.
Sure.
But tell me a little bit more about Winning the Day. What was the purpose? What was the vision behind the two of you guys collectively coming together on that one?
Yeah. So, Charlene and we were always doing that exchange on our own. Right. So, because, we have these great, like, she helps we help each other, I think, to think outside the box, and we don't bring a judgment, it's just kind of like, what do you think about this? Like, so we've always been doing that and then we were like, hold on, we should do this like on a platform or something. We're pretty good at this. You know what I'm saying? Let's, so we were like, she found at the time, I think Clubhouse had just kind of taken off, and she's like, hey, this would be a good opportunity to, like, it's really not intrusive, it'll be easy to set up, let's just do it. And so that's how it came about. And we used Win the Day because for a while I used to manage a team of 10 project managers, and when I got them, I really had to train them kind of on the project management principles, and so they were really overwhelmed. And I remember sharing with them that, hey, I don't want you to get overwhelmed with the end goal. I'm going to give you certain tasks and things to focus on and learn, and I want you to just win the day. Because if you win the day is going to turn into the week, the week's going to turn into the month is going to turn into the year. Nice. And so let's just focus on today has enough trouble of its own. But today do not, right? So we use that concept when we're talking about on Clubhouse, like, just evolving spiritually, emotionally, financially, and taking it in bite-sized pieces. Like, hey, don't think that because you want to work on your physical body, you want to be strong, don't think you're gonna be the Rock tomorrow. It's okay. Look, can you go walk around outside, just do one lap in your neighborhood today? That's it. You've won the day. You know what I'm saying? Now tomorrow, or maybe by Wednesday, maybe you can do 2. You know what I'm saying? Then you know by next week you might be up to like, 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the concept of like even with spiritual growth and anything that you're trying to do, holistically, just take what can you do today? Let's win the day. And that's been the concept of all of our our discussions, like giving tools, strategies, tips to win the day. What can we do to win the day? And I have to give a shout out to Michael McCauley because he actually preached a sermon on that years ago, and it just stuck with me because it's like, man, I can digest that, because sometimes we can get so overwhelmed, right, with like everything that you want to do, everything that's in your heart to do, things you want to change, evolve your family, things like, and it's like, man, that's a lot, but I can certainly just focus on winning the day. I can put a brick on the wall today, you know what I'm saying, and then eventually I'll have a whole, fortitude, created. So that's the concept, and that's what we try to do is just get together. We do it Mondays and Thursdays, and basically we're just coming together and just kind of like giving strategies that, hey, how can we win the day? What can we do today?
What's crazy is that in this interview, I'm learning that there's so much more meaning behind the naming of it, because I never understood what winning the day was for. But when you just broke it down, as soon as I heard it, I heard myself listening to Will Smith's book and his dad talking about doing one brick
on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, one brick at a time.
Yeah,
one brick at a time. You always think about the larger picture, but we forget that learn how to lay this brick.
Yes.
The best way, one brick at a time. Before you know it, you'll have a wall.
Yes.
And that concept helped me at a time when I was joining an organization as well. It'd be like, man, how long I'm gonna be doing this for? It'd be like,
when it's gonna be over, right?
When it's gonna be over. And I'm just like, you know what, Tyrell, focus on one day at a time. And I promise you, that is the only thing that got me through that. Yep. And just like, it makes it a lot easier to digest when you break it down that way.
Yeah.
So even to hear you say it hit home for me, because I know that there's a lot of power in that thought, in that thinking. So that's really awesome. And I'm upset that I didn't catch it. But
you're probably not the only one, so I'm glad I actually shared it. But yeah, so that, a lot of times we usually open it up sharing that on the call, but yeah, that was the concept, man. I apply that every day to this day with my own life, man. Every day I try to like what can I do today, and today's a new day.
And it's so dynamic. I'm coming back to it again. It's just like, everyone wants what it looks like at the end.
Yes.
Instead of realizing like what your success looks like at the end, like you said, is tallying up those small wins.
Yes.
Here. And before you know it, you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together and you have a whole pie.
Absolutely.
But for everybody out there, take the time to focus in on one thing at a time. You know what I mean? It'll all come together at the right time. For the right reasons, but focus on winning the day, as my man Al would say.
Yeah, just today, bite size. Don't take take on the whole steak. Maybe just give you a little something and get your mouth wet, and then before you know it, you better digest the whole thing. But that, to me, that has really been, I would say, a key to my success over the last 3 years, to be honest. It's just focusing on just winning the day, and also realizing too, man, that today is a new day, and so part of winning the day is like, I'm starting fresh today. I can't change what happened yesterday, right? And I'm also under no obligation to even be who I was yesterday to you. You better refresh your lens with me today. If you're still looking at it through a lens of me from last year, you don't know me.
Yeah.
Because I'm evolving and I'm growing, right? So every day I'm taking it as, hey, this is a new day, fresh, brand new day, and let me see what I can do to get a little bit closer to that which I want to see and manifest in my life. And then the days that don't go so well and things that happen that I make mistakes on, when God willing, I get back up in the morning, guess what? Here's a new day. I'm gonna start again fresh.
Okay. What's the next thing cooking for you guys over there at Winning the Day? I did hear a little bit of rumblings of something that's coming up in January, February of next year. When is that?
Yeah, January 4th, we're having Charlene is hosting a Dare to Live conference. It's going to be in Charlotte. The actual tickets are on sale now, but it's a host of 5 other speakers, dynamic speakers about really just, it's called, Charlene started a movement called Unpausing Your Dreams. That was a conversation we had about sometimes you put your dreams on pause, for various reasons. Well, let's unpause those. And then we're going to come together and really just encourage one another, encourage, people who are able to come to really say, hey, how can I, if I've put some things on pause, what can I do to start getting back into the game? And if I'm already in the game, what I'm saying, how can I expand? How can I evolve to really do what it is that is in your heart to do? If you're not at the full capacity of doing what is in your, dreams or what you've dreamt of, let's band together and speak with some people who are right in the throes of living out their dreams. And how did you do it? How did you make that first step? What were some of the tools and things that you went through, the challenges and successes that help you to really get up and live your quote unquote best life or your dreams? We're all just coming together and really just helping one another to kind of say, hey man, like this is what I did. This is what we help you. How can you help me? But we want to all live our dreams. You know what I'm saying? And the dream is not necessarily, it's a vision. You know what I'm saying? What is the vision? If you don't have a vision, come get a vision. Come to the conference and be inspired so that you can leave like, man, I don't really know, but I definitely want to do something more than I'm doing now. Not sure what it is. Well, come and be inspired, because I guarantee you get around that energy, you get around a good vibration, you're starting to be inspired just from being in the midst. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? With things that you may not have even thought about. Man, I got that. That's what my next thing gonna be. So that's what it's about, coming together, man, and just really just inspiring one another to live your dreams.
Shout out to Charlene Ridley down there in Charlotte, North Carolina. Everyone knows that Charlotte is my love. Yeah. So shout out to Char. She also was a previous guest on the Back Community. So if you're trying to figure out who his partner and co-host is, please look at some past episodes and check out Miss Charlene Ridley. Wishing you guys success in advance on that conference down there in Charlotte. I already know it's going to be powerful, especially if y'all lead off with the definition of winning the day or unpause your dreams and be like, let me tell y'all the meaning behind this.
We're gonna do that.
I'm still messed up right now. I'm messed up at, I'm just messed up. It's like, wow, how'd I miss this, man?
We're gonna do that just because you said it. That's for sure.
and let me see, man. I know you're a busy man. I do got 2 more questions for you before I let you go. You have had your hands in several different businesses, and you are not afraid to try something new. And like you said, you give yourself permission to change. You give yourself permission to grow. Mm-hmm. You are not under any obligation to be the old Al or the Al of yesterday or 30 minutes ago. Yeah. But thinking about your life, mm-hmm. At this particular point, what about your life's path are you most proud of?
I would say my commitment to my source, which I consider God, which I call God. Mm-hmm. I think I've since I was I would say, I don't know, like a young teenager, maybe like 12, 13, I've always had this strong desire to be connected with what I call God. And so, and that relationship has just evolved over time. So I started out in ministry. My dad's a pastor. I went and started out in ministry. I went to seminary, graduated from seminary, did that. And then I kind of did that for a while. Then I weaved in some other areas from a spiritual perspective. Now I'm into new thought and kind of what that means, and kind of, in terms of not only vibration and energy and things like that, but it's from my perspective, it's all the same source. And so I would say for me, I'm most proud of being able to keep that relationship solid through my ups and downs, all of the challenges, all of the highs and the lows of my life. And I've always had this strong connection to God, what I call God. And I'm most proud of that because, man, looking back over my life now, I know there was a hand, there has been a hand, there is a hand that has been on my life that, has guided me and has provided the inspiration and opened up doors that I know I could have not have done myself. And it still resides, no matter what someone may think or say, or, you know what I'm saying? I know that relationship has been solid since I can really remember, even before I knew to call it God. It's been there. And so I'm most proud of that. And that's something that is like an anchor for me. You can't take that from me. And so that's why that's the confidence that I walk in now. Like, even I don't allow anybody to define that for me. It's not a church that can define that. It's not a person. It's not a, you know, I don't let anybody define, because I know that source and that connection for me is a very real one. And so that's where I go to get my confidence, to get my affirmation, to get my direction, my guidance, you know, and I'm most proud of that, because I think it's been a major key to my success.
That is that is a very strong foundation. That is something to be absolutely proud of. One, especially if yours dated as far back as you just said, you know, you said that even before teenage years, right?
Yeah.
And just to think about understanding how peer pressure works, understanding how, you know, God might not be the coolest thing to talk about, might not be the most accepted things at that age, at that stage of most of our lives. But to have that level of conviction and to see God show up for you each and every time, and like you said, and continue to deliver. So shout out to you for having a sense of mind back then to understand the importance of your relationship with God, because mine came much later than that. You know, but, you know, I wish I had that understanding as you did earlier. You know, my son said a prayer tonight, like, and it was just awesome. It's like hearing your kids pray, right? And it's just like, no, you know, they'll hear me pray, they'll hear their mother pray, you know, so they learn how to pray now too, right? And just like, did he just say that? You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, so to get it early. And to have that residue on you when the world starts lifing and coming after you, or peer pressure starts doing what it does, but you know, you can always fall back on that. So shout out to you
on that strength. Don't mean I wasn't crazy now. No,
hey, listen, that's
I'm still partially, you know what I'm saying? So
that's listen. If you only got one side, you know, my mom always said, you know, you got to have a good wolf and a bad wolf. Right. You know, you need both of them. So, you know what I mean? So you need both of them.
Absolutely. So, man.
But let me see. I got one last, this is my final question for you. One, if there was one bit of advice that you could give to someone who was actually on the journey of self-discovery. You know, I'm a reader, I'm an avid reader, and I try to encourage other people to read. If you were trying to encourage somebody else on their path to self-discovery, what book or what podcast are you listening to, or you would recommend for someone to go to get what they will need in order to get to that next thing to help them to win the day each day? But I always like to figure out what you're reading, what you're listening to, what inspires you. Is there anything that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Hands down, I think everyone needs to read this, is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I give that to all my mentees. My son has it, my friends. I give anybody that I come in contact with that wants a recommendation. It's an easy read. And it was the one book, my grandfather gave it to me. And it was and then my grandfather, he gave it to my father. He gave it to all his other children. And ironically, I was probably one of the few grandkids that really resonated with and like took it on. But that book to me is the foundation of any change that you want to make or anything you want to manifest in your life. Understanding the power of your thoughts, because that's where everything starts. That's where everything begins. So if you can start to learn how to take ownership and control over that, and how to, you know, to harness this mind, man, it's the sky's the limit. Whatever you want to do and become and have, it starts here. And that book to me is, I recommend it to each and everyone. So that's certainly everyone. One thing that I'm reading right now is called the Millionaires of Genesis. Amazing book. It just talks about how all of the various people in Genesis, or characters, if you will, how they were millionaires, and they kind of go through kind of their practice from a financial perspective. So I'm reading that. Another one that I love is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. That's to me, that's an amazing book in terms, particularly for men, because I think we look at vulnerability as weakness. She breaks that down in such a way that you walk away from that book with it being something of strength and taking a lot of courage, and how you just a lot of self-discovery through vulnerability. And then lastly would be The Untethered Soul.
And I heard that one.
Oh man, you gotta be ready for that though. You gotta get that and read it and tell me, man, that's you know, you gotta be, when I say ready, you know, there needs to be some semblance of a spiritual foundation, because it really it challenges a lot, you know. But that book, Untethered Soul, man, it's that's another one that I recommend. So.
Okay. Hey, listen, we heard from Al himself. If you want to figure out how to be as motivational, as inspirational, if you want to learn how to be a jack of all trades, I suggest you to check out these recommendations that he just gave us. But Al, you know, it was a pleasure to have you on the Back Community. I've been waiting for your interview for quite some time, so thanks for being patient with this scheduling process over here. Is there anything you want to leave the people with? Anything you want to make sure that we know before I let you go? How do I find you on social media? How do I find you at my right hand? How do I find your clothing brand? Please let us know how to stay in contact with you.
Yeah, for sure. First, man, thank you for having me, man. And I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, particularly us being from the same hometown, and just knowing some of the challenges we both face, you know, growing up in that area and in that environment. But man, just super proud of the work that you're doing. So it's an honor to be a part of this podcast. But I would say I can be found on Instagram, AHM Meadows. So AH Meadows is my tag, and then the New Meaning brand, at the New Meaning brand on Instagram. Then I'm also on Facebook as well, which is under Hughes Meadows. So, but and you'll see a lot of content there, you know, particularly any conferences that we have coming up, any new business ventures. I need to probably get some other pages, man. But it's that in itself takes a lot of management. I probably need to hire someone to do that. But that's
that's when you're gonna be calling your own service. I need my right hand.
Absolutely. So that's where we are, man, now. So, but you can be found on those forums for now.
Okay. All right.
Man.
There we have it. The Back Community. Mr. Alphonso Meadows III. Thank you for, like I said, man, for affording me your time this evening. I can't wait to get your story out to the people. I wish you honestly continued success in all your endeavors, everything that you got coming up, man. And I'll play catch up with you next time.
Likewise, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. Okay.
Have a good one.
All right.
Keep climbing up the ladder. Black lives matter. They matter. So all you young people, give me all. 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 Matter. Black lives matter. They matter. Black lives matter.